the controller, that fellow, please see this. This fellow who is dispatcher is trying to create a new object. Yes or no? He's trying to create a new object wherever he is required. So if target equals to category, he is trying to create a new category controller. It's a new keyword. So creating object on his own, manufacturing object on his own. Similarly, if you have seen the service IMPL layer, category service, he was also creating a new response, category response, and he was also creating new DO IMPL, right? So one or other way, these people are trying to create or manufacture a new object, right? The same thing we are doing here, control C, and then here also we are doing. So if you have to understand, they are not supposed to create objects on their own. Why? See, I'll tell you. Assume these libraries are created by you. Fair enough. Okay. So I just wanted to take this and then give as an example. So look at this model category. If you have seen it, we have two constructors. One is default, another is parameterized. I wantedly written this to let you understand this concept. When the time of creating the category object, the way I have created is I have created both default and parameterized constructors. Assume, Aram se suno, assume these libraries are not written by you, but they were written by some third party library which was paid by you people and then was purchased. Okay. Now the problem here is you have a dependency on a third party library. I repeat this. I repeat this. You have a dependency on the third party library. What do you mean by that, Ram? Let me explain. I'll come to this connection factory. And if you have seen this driver manager.get connection, the way I'm calling, right? So I'll just come here and look at what happens when I say driver manager dot. It has shown me certain methods. Do it? Yes, sir. Is it or not? So it has shown me certain methods. Now let us say dot. I have get connection. If you see, there are 1, 2, 3. There are 3 different kind of methods is what we have for get connection. Correct? Okay. Apart from that, do we have any other model? We do not have any other model. So we have opted for this one, which is string URL, string user, and string password. So who supplied this driver manager? Who supplied driver manager? I will go and then place this mouse pointer. It shows who supplied java.sql.driver manager. Okay, please understand java.sql.driver manager. So who have supplied this? This is supplied by Java. Similarly, if you go and then try to take any Spring or Hibernate related library, that will be supplied by Spring or Hibernate. These are called third-party libraries which are not developed by you, but you are depending on someone to supply that library. We call them dependency. Now, I'm speaking about such a dependency. Think of it if the category and the product are supplied by some third-party vendor, not by you. Today, in the version 5.4, they have supplied both the constructors. Because they supplied both the constructors, you are free to go ahead and create a category constructor. And then, so you have created, assume, I'll just say here, DOIMPL, kidhar hai bhai mera? DOIMPL. Look at this. I'm creating category equals to new category. So here, what am I trying? New object of a third party library. Correct. है ना? Now अभी देखो. Now this third party library I have upgraded into the 5.5 version. 5.4 say 5.5 version has got come. So when this new upgradation happened, the team of category they felt like giving an empty category is not required. They felt so. I repeat, they felt so. And then they have removed this one. I'm just commenting for timing. Now this is my 5.5 version in which the category library is received by me without a default constructor. So it has got only one constructor which is parameterized, controllers. The moment when I say, you could see two errors, 1 and 2 in your application. Why you have two errors? Because you have a dependency. Now you are creating your object. It says that the constructor category is undefined. Now, because the code is with you, it will ask you to create a constructor. But however, if this code is not with you, it is supplied by some third party person as a dot class or a jar file. Can you create a constructor over here? That is my question. Can you create a constructor if this category does not belong to your code? Rather, it was taken from a third party.
No, sir.
नो राइट, एक मिनट रुको, कोई मुझे पिंग कर रहा है, पायल नदी वाला. Wait, no. Okay, so she is taking care of new training plan basically. Acha. Okay, so now the problem here is because this guy is being supplied by a third party person, I cannot change. Now, because our project is chota, slow, I mean, both small project, we have the dependency of category in only two places. Think of a big project, very big project, like a bank application, and this class is of type customer. Okay, so how many places the customer will be used? Right? So I just wanted to show you one more project just to let you understand how many libraries can be there in a project. So here I have a LS project, loans against shares are mutual funds. Loans against securities is the project. I was manager to that. I'm still manager to that. This we took almost 1 year to develop. So if you see the list of classes, how many I have, just would like to show here when it comes to these entities, DAO, DOI, MPL, and you have entity. Look at this. Can you see them? How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 44 entities almost. And apart from these 44 entities, we have PL related entities and PA related entities also. Personal, this one. Okay. And then you have PL entity, these many. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. See, now these is the level of the project you people are going to work. आपको लगता है कि आप लोग दो एंटिटी, दो सर्विस, दो डीओएमएल से हमारा जिंदगी चला लेंगे? नहीं. You will be dealing with hundreds of tables, hundreds of entities, hundreds of request and response objects, hundreds of services. Now look at the services that we are calling third party outgoing services. If you see, It's not just incoming. By the way, these are outgoing services. If you simply see the outgoing services, just look at the services we are calling. Business Rule Engine, CAMS, eKYC, eSign, KLI, all of these are outgoing services. These many services are there. And by the way, this is a one project, one package. And if you see Karza is a separate set of service, PAN is a separate set of service, virtual mission is a virtual. So, there is no end actually. If you have to see, there are so many classes we will be developing. Now think of a customer which is being maintained in all of such classes. So if, let us say, out of all this, there is something called as application mapping, application table, which will be regularly used wherever you go. Please try to understand. Wherever you go, majority, all of those DAOs which you are using, if you are looking at, all of them probably will be using something called as application. So everywhere you speak about, there will be an application mapping. Okay, and all of the services, just if you say control F and then say app lead mapping, uh, control H, I'm sorry, this is a customer's application table. You might see how many places it is being used after file search. Well, these many places in one thing. Okay, and then here in jobs, again it is used. Services, again it is used. And here, look at the matches. By the way, look at this, 7 matches, and then you have bloody 78 matches. So you think that one change you are going to get reflected in these many places. Do you think it will be easy for you changing the constructor or working with it? Can you? So that's the
Sir.
practicality. Now, this is the biggest problem when you have dependency of a library that you are building. So do not create the dependency. Inject the dependency is the concept. I'm speaking about something called as dependency injection. Anything that you require in application has to be injected by someone else. अगर आपको फीवर आया, डॉक्टर के पास जाके इंजेक्शन लोगे, उसका मतलब ये नहीं कि आप घर में बैठ के इंजेक्शन बनाओ, नहीं होता, राइट? So somebody have to supply it from a factory. You will simply take that and then use it. That's called as injection. I mean, inputting from a additional or external source. So that is the best way of creating the dependencies. This is not the best way. तो करना क्या है राम हमें? We are supposed to supply them through a factory. अब देखो, in my project, I am trying to create a class called Bean Factory, or I could say इसका name रखता हूँ मैं Amazon Bean Factory. क्योंकि Bean Factory is a built-in class, so I cannot use the same name. So I have used the name as Amazon Bean Factory. So what is the purpose of this Bean Factory? Is basically to supply all required all required beans as injection, dependency injection. Okay. So what am I supposed to do? देखो भैया, आपको जो भी चाहिए, you will simply have to supply. So I will write one method, a public method, which is a static method. The return type is object. Please remember, return type is object, because you have to return anyone you have to return. So you cannot return a specific class. So rather you will supply or return it as an object, public static object get bean, and here you will supply string, or I could simply say class name, or you could actually supply the class itself if you can say class. Okay, but however, I'll take that as a class name. Now, what am I supposed to do here? I'll simply say return null as a final thing. But here I will supply if the class name dot equals ignore case of, let's say, if this is called as category, then I'll simply say return new category. Else, now you will have to import category here, Control Shift O, else, and again I'll repeat this, Control C, Control V, And what about this is a product? Okay. A mistake, sorry. Return new product. Now I have written something like this. आराम से देखो अभी. Assume in your category you have this control S. Okay. Okay. So here in the category service, where I need to get the category, wherever I need to get the category, the way I have taken category is equals to ये बाहर से मिल रहा है, right? Right or wrong? This is coming from an outside, so I can actually take it. So इसमें कोई problem नहीं है मेरे पास. I have no problem in it. Now here there is a problem. So what I will have to do here is I will simply have to say Amazon Amazon bean factory dot get bean. What I need is category. Now the problem here, it says कि देखो भैया, whatever you are getting is an object, whatever you require is a category, so you have to add a casting to category. I'll say add it. Now it has added the category casting, and then whatever I am getting here as an object is converted to category and given back here. Control S. And then उसके बाद मैं जाता हूँ category DOIMPL में, wherever I need to get new category, I'll again add my dependency injection. So I'll say Amazon bean factory dot get the bean. नाम क्या है bean का भैया? Category चाहिए मुझे. फिर ये बोलेगा देखो you are getting an object, you need a cast. Now these two places I have taken. Now as usual, because this guy is a third party library, as I told you, this category is a third party library. Assume मेरा 5 version में this is removed. Before I press Ctrl S, I'm asking you. Now that I have changed, how many classes will be affected?
No,
There is
sir.
category service, there is category DOIMPL, and there is Amazon Bean Factory. How many classes will be affected out of these three?
I think no
See?
classes.
हाँ इफेक्ट होएगा, देखो कंट्रोल एस. अब कैटेगरी DOIMPL में ओके कोई दूसरा प्लेस में भी ले रहे हैं हम. सो हियर आई विल आल्सो टेक दिस आउट. कंट्रोल C एंड कंट्रोल S. बताओ कितने क्लासेस में इफेक्ट हुआ? एक ही क्लास में. Here you are returning this new category. Now tell me, because of the third party change, previously if I was in previous mode, I would have, I mean if you take this LS as an example, अगर इसमें ऐसा है, so all of these places I need to go and then touch, correct or not? Wherever there is a new application mapping, correct? Control H. Honestly speaking, I'm looking at this one. Let's say new application lead mapping. Only इसके लिए search करता हूँ तो समझ में आ जाएगा कि कितने places में है. ऐप में बहुत सारे places में रहेगा. कोर में, सर्विसेज में, देखो. So these are all the places where new applet mapping is getting used, correct? अगर ऐसे मेरा हालत रहा तो मेरा एप्लीकेशन में मेरे को कितना चेंजेस करना पड़ता है बताओ? All of these places. You agree with that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
देख कितना है यहाँ से लेके 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 21 places में मुझे करना पड़ता. But if I have used a factory like this, how many places I should have touched? One place. So बताओ which one is better, touching 21 places like this or touching only one place?
One place.
That is the use of factory. समझ रहे हो बात को? You understand this? Never create an object get it dependent or get it injected by someone else, that is a better way. You can ask me, रामत तो ये वाला तुमने क्यों ठीक नहीं किया भैया? तो आप तो सिखा रहे हो मुझे, लेकिन आपका आपका खुद का प्रोजेक्ट ऐसा मरा पड़ा है, करेक्ट? This is because it is not developed by me. This was developed in 2016, 2017, long back by some other team. So now I cannot change the code because the code is huge. Neither we get time to change, nor we have any option to change. So that was being used like that. So which is not a good practice also, but however, it is getting practiced. Like in what is a good practice here? Here it is. Now the category is changed. I'll supply like this. अब देखो मेरा खेल खत्म. So one change of supplying a constructor like this have resolved my problem. Correct or not? Yes or no? Control S. Now my project is ready. Just like that. Yeah, just like that. Your project is ready. So now this is what the main use of factory. So it is suggested everywhere you create a new object. Abhi service mein dekho. Service mein you are creating new DAO, DAO IMPL. Correct or not? Which is not supply. I mean, basically, this is not a required way of doing it. Correct. So what is that we are supposed to do in that case? Yape, everywhere you have to do this one. Category product 1, 2. DAO, DAO IMPL. फिर सर्विस IMPL का एक DAO का. अब देखो प्रोडक्ट हो गया. I'll say this as category DAO, and this I'll call it product DAO. This I'll call as category service, and this I call as product service. What else left run? Hey, मेरे पास controllers भी पड़ा है यार. So I'll call this as category controller, and then I call this as product controller. See, all of them I need to supply. Now, how do I do that, Ram? See, new category DO IMPL, and then here I need to supply new product DO IMPL. So somebody is asking for an object, I'll supply in this way. Now, ये category service है. This is gonna be category service IMPL, and then this is gonna be product service IMPL. And then this one is category controller, and then this is gonna be product controller. So all of that I am speaking about, I have created service ka. Now what is left? Request and response. Iska bhi karna? Yes. Yes, it is. Seriously. So
There is spelling mistake, sir.
कहाँ पे पड़ेगा ये?
Product controller.
T. ठीक है ना? Where are we? We are supposed to create request and responses. कितने request response है हमारे पास? देखो पहले एक रिक्वेस्ट है, 2 रेस्पॉन्स है. तो बढ़िया. तो ये रहा मेरा कैटेगरी रिक्वेस्ट, एंड आई नीड टू रिटर्न न्यू कैटेगरी रिक्वेस्ट. category response, I'll call this new category response. Fair last but not least, product response. Actually, the way you are supposed to ask is like this. This is the correct way. Look at the class name. It should exactly match with whatever you are asking. Yes or no? So then there is no confusion. So the name that you are returning should match with what you are requesting. But should start with a small name. So object name will exactly like the class name. The only difference is object name starts with small letter. Actual class starts with capital letter, control S. Now, if you see this, this is how I am trying to return. Okay, so when whatever you have asked, like anything is not matched with anything, so all of these conditions fails, and I'll simply return null. Now, this is what exactly a factory has to be. अगर राम हमारे पास कुछ 100 classes है, 200 classes है, you need to have for 200 classes. This is what it is. Hope you are understanding. The best way of doing web application development is in this way. So everywhere I am looking at someone, I'll beg it from this fellow. तो यहाँ पे देखो I need new category controller, so I will request Amazon bean factory dot get bean, which is category controller, and then I will add my casting. Done. So whatever I have requested, I've just casted to a controller, and then that's done. And similarly, if it is equals to product, what am I supposed to do here? Controller is equals to Amazon bean factory dot get bean of product controller. I got it. And I will add the cast. And all I need is, I'll simply have to say, this is all I need. And after getting controller, I will call the service method anyway. So I'll call the service method. If first of all, I need to check Mr. Controller is not is equals to null or not. So if controller is not equals to null, I'll forward is. If not, I will take him back anyway to go back to home. This is what is going to come. If this else is not met, and then one of the object is created, I will be redirected. This is exactly I will be doing as a part of the service method. Now look at this, how simple this is, right? So that's how exactly you are supposed to develop. Similarly, in the category service where you require new DAO, what are you supposed to do? Amazon bean factory dot get bean of category DAO and add a casting. उसके सामने आके casting add कर दो. बढ़िया. और क्या चाहिए तुम्हें? You have category response. So don't create a new object. Amazon bean factory dot get bean of. What is that you require? You require category response. Class name is pretty similar, so there is no confusion. Whatever the class name, we will have to ask for the same. Okay, so add a cast, it has come, and here also you need a DAO. So go here, Amazon bean factory dot get bean of category DAO. What exactly you are trying to do is you are trying to implement a dependency injection which will help you in future to get rid of code changes. So whatever the constructor changed at the other level, so object is ensured or promised that you will get, because you will have to change it only one place. If in future there is something change also, you just have to go and then touch the Amazon factory, but not everyone. So this is a C extra control S, and get rid of other unnecessary imports. Now you come to the category. This is you can enable this if you want for time being. There is no problem in it. I just shown you one scenario how you are supposed to do that. Okay. So control F, new category. So here is a new, और फिर उसके बाद कहीं नहीं है. So you cannot get from this array list from a bean factory. These are Java built-in classes. I'm speaking about only pojos or beans that are supplied by either you or by third-party categories. Now, is there anything else like we need to go and then check? Like, पूरा check करो एक बार. Product DO IMPL. and here is check karo idhar hai kya new product. So what are you supposed to do here? You need to say Amazon pin factory dot get pin of unit product, वो आ जाएगा. फिर add a cast and then नीचे चले जाओ, you have product list, new URL list, result set, new product. Here also you need to add whatever is the same. Control C, Control V, Control S, and then what response? I don't need to touch. Service IMPL category, we have changed it. Amgen pin factory, so I am not using new keyword anyway here apart from array list. And similarly, I'll go to product service IMPL. Here is a new DO. So here I'll say Amazon pin factory dot get pin of product DO, and I'll add the cast. Then I have product, okay, and then here is a product DO, new product DO enter. The same thing I need to do. I'll just copy this line of code, Control C, and I'll paste here, Control V, and then I need to have a product response. What am I supposed to do? Amazon pin factory dot get pin of product response and add the cast. Product response set ID and all. So are you using any new keyword here apart from this new array list? Apart from, there is no new keyword. Okay, now here also product response, my mistake. So there is another product response usage. So I'll take it, Control C, and Control V, Control S. Yeah, and then in the category service also, see the category response, we have get it from Amazon factory. See the category, we have get it from the Amazon factory, right? So properly set, and that's all. So in our project, we have implemented dependency injection, or you also call it as a factory design pattern. You understand this concept now? What is the dependency injection?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what is the purpose of dependency injection? Basically, to get rid of the dependency of objects. So whenever you are getting objects from either your library or third party, there is a big scope that you may change its constructor in future. And then the total code which is depending on that constructor should not get affected. So you will supply a factory. Ram supply करने के बाद अगर कुछ changes हुआ तो हाँ तो जाना इधर only. This is the only place you can go and change. Simple. One change will reflect the entire project. You get it? You get it? Clear?
Yes, sir.
And similarly,
Yes, sir.
if you have seen the DAO also, I tried implementing the total boilerplate code kind of thing into a single person, this guy, and then try to use even the SQL also from this guy only, right? So you have to reduce maximum of code changes. Please understand, when you develop something, the expectation from you is to minimize the code changes and then minimize the impact analysis, impact part, like code changes impact. So everybody, whenever you do something, a change that you are doing will go and then impact some other code. Let's say somebody asks you to, अरे डिफॉल्ट कंस्ट्रक्टर नहीं चाहिए, उसको रिमूव करके ये कर दो, तुमने बाय मिस्टेक कर दिया, then it will go and affect 20 places. In my case of applet mapping, I'm saying, correct or not? So we have to analyze first how many places this code will affect, and then how many places are, how many areas of my application will fail because of this change. So if you do not have the track of that, your application will undergo numerous changes again and again and again, and then client will keep on shouting, यार कुछ भी यार तू एक करता तो दूसरा फट जाता है, what the hell you people are doing? So you don't want to listen to this one from the client, right? So you have to do proper impact analysis. TCL में ये हर बार होता है. When we do that, I'm telling you, हर बार वो तो मिनिमम है, समझो हमारा जिंदगी का मिनिमम है. डेवलपर कुछ करता है तो दूसरा फटता है, and then until unless client come back and say we don't understand that, so impact analysis is very badly missing over here in that project. So the problem is because they haven't followed the standard way of implementation when they develop an application. You people don't repeat it. That is my request. अभी करता है तुम्हारा टीम लीडर बोलता है नहीं 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 कर दो न्यू, कुछ नहीं होता, उसको कुछ नहीं होता। वो टीम लीडर अगर वो प्रोजेक्ट से दूसरे प्रोजेक्ट में चला गया तो सड़ेगा तुम लोग। ओके, कोई भी हो, whoever suggest, don't care about it. Whatever is standard. You have to implement the standard way. Am I clear on this point, bhai?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, so now you understand the first concept of Spring. This is the first concept of Spring Core. The very much first version of Spring is built on this concept, Spring Core. And the other aspect is Spring ORM, which uses DAO and ORM, which we have already implemented. They said that every table must be represented by a class, and this class exactly reflect the table. So when you see this one, you speak to the object and then let Hibernate do its communication to the database in its way. Well, our application is free of like whatever the table, whatever the query you are supposed to write, you will not write queries. Basically, queries will be generated by them. Queries will be generated by the Hibernate. We will see that one later on. So we will just get into an application and then see what is Spring dependency injection. How do we implement that? All that stuff we will see. Okay. When it comes to Spring Core, that's the step number one which we are going to learn. As you have learned, we have, honestly speaking, have implemented the Spring Core. In the Spring Core, the factory what you are speaking about, Bean factory, or this is also known as application context, who supplies all of the objects of that application to us, is basically old style is represented by an XML, new style it is represented by a Java object. Now, when it comes to the application, आराम से सुनो, when it comes to the application context object is automatically generated by servlet context. Repeat, web servlet context. Web servlet context. जो servlets को load करता है वही बंदा application context को भी load करता है. The one who loads servlet himself will also load the application context or the bean factory. Now you have to represent this bean factory using XML. So the way you write is beans, by the way, beans, and you will be have some tags, attributes in it, slash beans. So within the beans, you will have to specify all of those beans you are interested to use in your application. So for example, I need to say bean ID is equals to category, class is equals to, you need to supply com dot jokata dot, अपना पैकेज बताओ भैया, कैटेगरी किधर पड़ा है, काम डॉट जोका डॉट अमेजन डॉट मॉडल, अमेजन डॉट मॉडल डॉट category. So when you supply like this, when you supply slash bean, for example, let's say slash bean, this object is loaded by your bean factory, and the way you call is you will simply say bean factory dot get bean, and here you need to supply the ID, whatever the ID you have here. You just supply the ID, and the bean is returned to you. And the return type of this method, get bean method, is object. And whatever you are getting is the category class, this class, as an object. So when you call this one, you simply have to call this in this way. Category is equals to bean factory dot get bean of category. Tell me, is this method looking like the way we have implemented? Right or wrong? फर्क इतना है कि the only change is this is our own class which we have written to implement the factory pattern. This is supplied by Spring Framework. कितना change दिख रहा है आपको? Understood, right? Understood. So when you write this beans XML, it is actually generating a class in the background like this. Okay, the bean factory, whenever you call for something, it actually returns you that object. So you are understanding this point. Now this bean class you are configuring have certain extra elements compared to the way what we have implemented, because that is a very high level framework. I have given you an overview or look and feel or basic structural model of that Spring framework in our own way. देखो ये जो मैंने डेवलप किया था, honestly speaking, ये जो Amazon factory, this is a standard way of implementation. I can actually the way I have, okay sorry ये नहीं, दूसरा ये वाला करो, ये मैं बोल सकता हूँ कि ये जो क्रिएट किया था मैंने स्प्रिंग नहीं, इसका नाम है बिंग, एंड इट्स अ न्यू फ्रेमवर्क, बिंग फ्रेमवर्क इम्प्लीमेंटेड बाय रामशंकर, इन्वेंटेड बाय रामशंकर, मैं बोल सकता हूँ, लेकिन मुझे कोई स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन नहीं देगा. यू अंडरस्टैंड? सो स्प्रिंग वाज इम्प्लीमेंटेड and was tested and was given standardization, so people say ki use that one which got standardized. I just tried to show you the way they might have implemented in the background. Hope you are understanding this, right? So what is there already implemented, we will simply use it. All we need to do is that. That's all. Nothing more than that. Okay. So now when you get this application context, you will have bean. This bean will have something called as a property. Property. It is equals to something you can supply as a property, and you also supply something called as constructor org. Constructor arc. So basically what is this constructor argument is nothing but here, if you have seen the category thing I have supplied, right? This one, this is the constructor argument. Okay, so anything if you are doing a change to the constructor, you can supply it as a constructor argument. But if you have it as a setter, you can actually set it as a property, this one. So these two are the inputs for a bean. So when you try to create a bean, you either can supply other objects into this one as an injection input. So this is what we call as dependency injection. Okay. Well, what is this constructor argument's property now? For example, if you see this one in the category class, you have a you have a category name, and then you also have a set category name, right? So in how many places you have a chance of giving this input for the category object? One using constructor. Somebody is speaking, can you please mute yourself? Okay, so you can supply this cat name, either as a constructor argument, or you can also supply this as a setter, so either of the way you can supply that one. So if you are supplying as a setter to this bean category, you can supply it in a property. If you are supplying this in constructor argument category, you can supply this as a constructor argument. Okay, so here you can supply. Well, you either supply as a property, this will be control that used for setting input to set method. If this one is basically used for setting input in constructor, or the better way to use is in parameterized constructor. Am I clear? This is the way we have to write our XML model. Now, this style, I repeat, this style was actually eliminated. वो तो पुराना style था, that was actually removed. Nowadays, the standard has come in such a way, every class must have a default constructor. That is the way of writing. If you don't write a default constructor as a part of your application, the class is not considered as a standard way or a standard class. So in Java based, we have annotations now which are which have come and then taken the place of this Spring Core and Hibernate and everything. We don't use this XML model anywhere. This was a legacy style. Just for you people to understand how this looks like, I have shown this one. The latest style is using application context, which is supplied by web application context. Am I clear? Web application context initializer, who actually supplies this one. Now, coming back to our explanation, may. So, what is that you people are going to learn from tomorrow, day after tomorrow, and the next day? By the way, there is a holiday this week. We do have a holiday also, which is on the occasion of Holi. If you exclude that, we have only 5 days left. So, what is that we are going to learn within these 5 days is Spring. The same web application is converted to Spring MVC and which uses Hibernate. Am I clear? Which uses Hibernate. Okay, that is what you people are going to work with. That's the main aspect. That's the main expectation. Now, how do we create a Spring application? What are all the dependencies that are required? So, just for a brief to let you people understand how many dependencies we require, I have the dependency required vars over here. These are all the jars that are required. Spring MOP, Beans, Context Core, JCL, JDBC, ORM, Web, MVC. You have to add them manually into your project using a POM.xml. XML. So in the POM.xml, XML, you have to specify, I need this jar, I need this jar, I need this jar, I need this jar. Then it will connect to central Maven repository and will try to download all of these jar files into your application. And all of these people, they help me in developing only Spring application. तो हम Hibernate के लिए ये वाला. This is a bit huge, right? Yes or no? This is a bit huge. Correct or not? Correct. So let's develop our application. Yeah. Yes. Okay. मेरा voice मेरे को सुनाई दे रहा था, ठीक है. So what these are the set of jars required for Hibernate and these are jars required for Spring MVC. ये कुछ ज्यादा ही हो गया, right? These are all required, compulsory or mandatory, or shall we have to do anything else? That is what you people are going to learn as a part of your web application development in the next level. That is first point. So you understand these are all like heads up. Whatever we were speaking about is heads up of what you are going to develop in future. The other headset I wanted to give you is how do we deal with inter technology based apps. Now tell me something. As a part of your application, what is your input source? What is your input source? I could say client, server, and DB. So if I am speaking about this, why am I speaking about it? This is the main point which you need to understand. This client can be any, the server also can be any, and the DB also can be any. So if you see, the client can be HTML, the client can be JSP, is what you have seen, right? And at the server side, as of now, we have servlets, right? And at the DB level, we have MySQL. What is tomorrow? The client is not interested in MySQL, rather he wanted to deal with Oracle. What if the client wants to deal with some other database called HANA? What if he wanted to deal with some other database called Microsoft SQL Server? Or what if he wanted to deal with something called as PostgreSQL? So these are all the different kind of database servers we can deal with. And then as of now, you are using JSP. So you know that JSP can deal only with servlets. What if you have some other kind of application? What if you have some other kind of application? What do you mean by that, Ram? Let us say here, assume I have Angular. Let us say here I have my Android.
logical view name use?
Huh?
In
Explain.
MVC, there we use logical view name, sir. In future, if we want to change the view pattern, view applications or
Hmm.
technology,
Hmm.
at that place we use logical view name.
हाँ तो लॉजिकल व्यू नेम रहेगा, लेकिन हाउ डू यू बिल्ड द क्लाइंट इज व्हाट माय डाउट इज. See, can you design the Android page the way you design JSP?
No, sir.
Can you design the Angular the way you design Android? No. So these technologies are different, correct or not? These are different technologies. So
Yes,
I'm
sir.
speaking about client technologies. And how about server technology? Now servers can be developed in servlets, correct? And this is database. To the database also we have different technologies now. Okay, so if you see this one, I have servlets, and then I can also use ASP.NET. Is anyone stopping me? Right or not? I can use Python, right? Can I?
Yes, sir.
Can I use Node.js?
Yes, sir.
Can I use reactive programming? I can use anyone, right? So here there is no limitation of technologies who can do server side. This one also. Now, if this is the case, the client can be of any technology, the server also can be of any technology, and the bloody database also can be of provided by any provider, any technology. Correct? So these are all the different kind of providers, or I could say suppliers we have for different technologies. Now, taking this into consideration, my client who is a TCL or anyone who may ask me any combination, he may ask me, भाई मेरे को ये क्लाइंट चाहिए एंड्रॉयड में, एंड देन मुझे सर्वर चाहिए डॉट नेट में, और मेरा डीबी सर्वर चाहिए लेकिन ओरेकल में, नहीं पूछ सकता क्या? You can ask me. So in what way I can link? Android is Java based. You all know that, right? This is Java based. .NET is something related to .NET. This is completely either on VB.NET. You can develop application on VB.NET, or you can develop using C#.NET, right? And or on some other technology. And this is Oracle. Now, how do I develop the application in such a kind of odd combination? Well, .NET cannot give response. The .NET responses are basically CS/HTML files. Views are CS/HTML. Or he may also ask me something like, I need Angular at the UI level, and I am looking at a Spring MVC or servlets in the backend, and I'm looking at MySQL as a database. Now the problem with me is Spring MVC servlets, they written JSP. They are based in Java. Angular, on the other way, uses TypeScript, right or not? In order to communicate, and the way it send request response is different than the way they send the request response. So how do I mix up these combinations? Well, this kind of architecture is called as SOA, stands for service oriented architecture. See, what happens is we will divide the client and server and DB into three different layers. They have no relation between each other. So anything client is looking at asynchronously, he will ask the server, "Dekho bhai, mujhe ye de do," and then they will also do an asynchronous call to any database. How this asynchronous call could happen, like through which this call can work out. That is what the main point which you need to understand. Okay. Now here the call can happen through the web service. This is what the point to understand. So the call will happen through a web service. Am I clear? And when you call a web service, the web service will go and then speak to a technology in a unique way. And here the call happened through something called as Hibernate. Why Hibernate, Ram? Well, Hibernate is an independent database technology. So you cannot deal with a specific database related query. let's say if you say select star from there is a query like this, like data dependency query, data dependency, DD query. DD query of MySQL, data dependency query, to fetch some 10 records, top 10 records. So you can say select star from employee limit 0, 1. So 0, 10. That means top 10 records. The same thing, data dependency query of SQL Server, you will say select top 10 from employee. See, the query is changing. That means today you have developed your application in one, to work with one database. Tomorrow the client comes and says, "Ki, I'm no more interested in Oracle. Uska licensing agreement ज़्यादा है भाई. I don't need it. So can you please convert to MySQL?" आप तो गया पूरा का पूरा DAO layer में जाके queries का dependency check करना पड़ेगा. You are getting my point. So previously we were speaking about object dependency. Now we were speaking about query dependency. Are you catching my point? ओके
Yes, sir.
तो पुराना था जो टॉपिक फैक्ट्री पैटर्न के लिए हम लोग बात कर रहे थे, दैट वाज टू अवॉइड द ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएशन डिपेंडेंसी. तो अभी राम तू क्या बोल रहा है? आई एम स्पीकिंग अबाउट getting rid of database query dependency, syntax of the dependency. Now how do we avoid this, Ram? That is what the Hibernate is for. So what Hibernate will do, it says ki please do not generate the query, let me generate it. So you speak to an object, you speak to me on the name of an object, and I will create the query for you, is what Hibernate says. You need not worry about creating an object. Sorry, creating a query. That is my headache. And then here also, the web service makes you getting rid of depending the request type and response type of two irrelevant technologies. So what web service says key, the request is of common type and the response also should be of common type, which both of you understand. And I will work as a mediator to take the request all the way to you and then take the response all the way to the client by doing such translation, whatever you are specifying. That is what is called as service oriented architecture, in which web services, they play a very big and vital role. These web services, they actually exposed to handle request from any technology based client. So the client can be anyone, Java can answer. Similarly, the client can be anyone. He can also call any server which is built in on .NET or Java or Python or whatever it is. Irrespective of what a technology you are using at server side, I can speak. And then all these applications which are of different technologies, if they wanted to go and then speak to databases, they can also speak irrespective of the technology name, which is a Hibernate. So what is that I'm going to do here? I'm going to write a Spring Web Service which will help me to connect any client to my Java app. And this Java app will communicate to Hibernate using Oracle. Well, please remember these 2 points. Like, what is that we are trying to avoid? We are trying to avoid the technology dependency of client and server communication. And we are also trying to remove dependency of server to database communication. So whenever a client has to speak to a server, there is a dependency on the technology model. Well, we will reduce it or eliminate it by developing web services. And similarly, whenever there is an application to speak to database, there is a query dependency. We can eliminate it by simply bringing Hibernate into picture. So we speak to Hibernate, Hibernate speaks to the database, Kel Kadam Dukan Band. Similarly, we bring web services into picture. Client speaks to web service speaks to us, and we give response to web service returns response to the client. खेल खत्म दुकान पर. आई बात समझ में?
Yes, sir.
Understood, na?
Yes, sir.
Now, so how do these web services understand what is being requested, what has to be responded, for which both of them has to come under a common contract. So the contract is the request and response types. So these basically are implemented very firstly, service architecture was very first implemented with something called as RMI, which is remote method invocation. This remote method invocation, which is introduced by Java in the year of 1996, right? That was actually the root for web services. So what happens in remote method invocation is something like this. So there is a server. So I wanted to give service to someone, and I have something called as, I have a method. Let's say I'm having an app called calculator, and this calculator app have certain methods. Add is there, subtract is there, multiply is there, and divide is there. Now it is like I wanted to give the world these two methods free of cost, and the remaining two as a purchasable. And then anybody purchase my app will be making use of all the four. Just to give them a flavor of how my calculator works, I wanted to give this addition, subtraction. Okay, so these methods are written in such a way, addition, subtraction, they take input of FNO and SNO and returns the addition or subtraction of FNO plus SNO or FNO minus SNO, like that. Now this calculator, what it will do, there is another person who is available called as lookup. So this lookup is basically a one service through which this guy will go and register with some name. Let's say calc. So he says ki, देखो please bind me with the name calc by calling, okay, by calling lookup dot bind, and then there is a client. This client can be Android client, this can be a web client, this can be a console client. Basically we call them C1, C2 and C3 as well.
Sir, lookup is also a dependency injection, no?
Hmm?
Lookup is also one type of dependency injection.
Lookup is basically a service supplied by Java RMI. It's not lookup, I'm sorry. The name is basically naming. Naming lookup is what it is called as. Naming. Naming you need to call. A naming service. Okay. Naming service. Basically, we will say, Dekho, I have a service called calculator. Please register me with the name calc. So this guy, he will say naming dot rebind this calculator object. Let's say he will actually write his code in this way. So to create an object, and then here I will supply naming dot rebind. Now I have renamed myself, I mean binded myself with the name Ramscalc. So these are three different kind of clients. Let's say this guy is available in the US, and this guy is available in Hyderabad, and let's say this guy is available in Delhi. Now what they will do, they will go to this naming and say, hey, please give me a person with the name Ramscal. So they actually will call what is that they're asking? What is that they're asking? They're asking for a method called lookup. They're asking, hey, we are looking up for someone called as Ramscalc. Do you have him with him? Do you have him? And then please supply me. We will take him as a calculator. So this guy will come and then search the entire thing where it is registered with, and then it will get it Ramscalc. Okay, on which name Ramscalc is registered? with calculator. So what it will do, it will create new calculator and returns. Am I clear? But this is between Java only. Within Java, the client is also Java and the server is also Java. Now the client, which has got the object of this calculator, will speak to this as if it is in my local. So I'll say calc dot add of 2 comma 3. Now when you say 2 comma 3, the call actually will go to the server side. How this will go? Well, there is a protocol called RMIC, remote invocation protocol. Okay, so remote method inter protocol, RMIC, I'll call that RMIP, and then through RMIP I'll ask, I am looking at this object. So through RMIP the protocol is converted to HTTP. The request travels all the way to the naming server IP address, and at the naming server IP address it will find, oh, here is the object. It will identify the object, and then it will create a stub of that object. What do you mean by stub? A structural interface which looks like calculator. So what we will have is actually at the server level, the class is calculator. It's not class. Basically, that is going to be an interface. So here at the server level, we'll be having interface calculator. This interface calculator extends something called as remote, the interface provided by Java. And then here we define our methods. Public int add, which will take int a comma int b, and I have a method public int subtract, which will take int a comma int b, something like that. So whatever you wanted to be supplied by remote, you will call like this. Now this object is implemented by a class called calculator IMPL. So here what is that we are going to supply is new calculator IMPL. This calculator IMPL basically is the one who have implemented this calculator, and then whose object is what we are going to return. Well, this object what we are supplying here, basically this guy, when you call this interface, is what is written to him. Now through this interface, he will try to call add of 2 comma 3. Then through RMIP protocol, the call all the way it travels to the naming, and from there it will go to the space where this calculator is loaded into memory, and it will call the add method supplying the value 2 comma 3, and then that will be executed in the memory of the JVM at the server location. The response, which is 5, 2 plus 3 are 5. Okay, your code is something like you have to return an integer, right? So this integer 5 value is returned back all the way through this protocol back here. So when you call add 2 comma 3, it's pretty simple, returns you 5. So easy. But it's that the answer is coming from a remote location by executing a method at the remote location. That is why this concept is called as RMI, remote method invocation. Get this? Understood
Yes.
this? But here the only limitation is client is also Java and ये server is also Java. पूरा का पूरा Java में पड़ा है. तो अगर my doubt, अगर ये जो add method है, the one you have at Java level, has to be accessed by some .NET client, client 2, which is .NET. Is it possible? The answer is no. The answer in RMI is no. Then people started thinking, if this is the case, we have to supply one or other way. The object has to be accessed by, some other technology based client. So here I am trying to eliminate inter technology apps to communicate. So that's what the problem I wanted to solve. So they have come up with, let this object be called by him in the remote model only. The only difference is the way the input is coming and the way response is going should be in a common pattern. We take it as an XML. I said let the request come as an XML, and then let us execute the method at our end, and then return the so let the request come as an XML. We will execute our method at the server end, and we will return the response as an XML. So the remaining part is same. We will have a naming kind of object to which this guy will go and register, and we call them service discovery, web service discovery. What is that we call it as? web service discovery. Through web service discovery, somebody will search and find a web service and then call the web service, and the web service which runs at the server side, I repeat, web server runs at the server side, not at the client side, which runs at the server side, will return the response, and the return response is again converted to XML and returned back. At the client level, who have support to XML will happily take out that response and then translate that to the way they want it. That is the concept of service oriented architecture. People were largely have changed their applications or migrated their applications to support web service. Matlab, what happens to the servlets now? They are there. The existing servlet application and JSP application is there. They just added a new layer called web service so that the same web application can be called by, I repeat, the same web application can be called by inter-technological based clients. That means if I have a web application which is like Amazon, now this Amazon web application developed under web service model can be called by mobile, can be called by a normal command line interface, can be called by a JSP, yes, can be called by some other HTML, yes, can be called by .NET, yes. So the technology which you are using as a client can be anything, and the server also can be anything. The communication still happens through the web services. Am I clear on this point?
Yes, sir. Scalability.
हाँ, ठीक है. So to achieve this, we have web services. That is the main aspect. So the root for this web services was RMI, and then it was developed. Okay. So there are two different kind of web services you can develop. XML based, we call them SOAP. SOAP stands for Simple Object Access Protocol. Here, the entire object is being accessed. So as the name implies, Simple Object Access Protocol. This looks more or less like an RMA most of the time. So the entire object that you have created at the server side, whose stub is supplied in the model of XML to the client. Now let us say you have a very big application in which there is a very big service. There is a big utility service you have developed, and out of this, let us say you have 100 methods, and the client doesn't want all 100 methods. He wanted to load only addition and subtraction. He do not have a choice but to take the entire object with 100 methods, because you are dealing with simple object access protocol here. So the client is given with unwanted methods also. For example, as I told you, I wanted to give addition and subtraction only to the client. Rather, I wanted to make these people hidden and then supply to some other one. Let us say there is an object which is giving multiple services, and then whoever are taking my software license, based on the features what they have purchased, I would like to release them. Okay, based on the features. But unfortunately, when it comes to SOAP protocols, it is not possible. So you have to give the entire object which is having all the 4 services, irrespective of the client license. The guy can enjoy all the 4. What if these 2 are not supposed to be given to the client, where you are helpless? You cannot do that because you are given entire your object. Got it? So that is the limitation of SOAP. First thing, they are XML based. The way the structure and all are is TDS. Second is they are heavy in size because the entire object is translated between client and the server using simple object access protocol. Am I clear? And then third one is like you cannot control because the entire object is given back to the client. You cannot control what has to be accessed by the client. You have given the whole thing to him. There is no control over there. Okay, so these are all the 3. I mean, these are the main limitations of SOAP based web services. We will discuss about SOAP based web services also as a part of our web application development when we come to one stage. But for now, you need to understand what is the other alternate. People have come up with another model. They call it as a REST. What is a REST service now? REST stands for representative state transformation protocol. This is what called as REST. So representative state transformation protocol. So here I will give only that method that I am interested in, not every method to the end user. So what I will do, every functionality I'll make it as an endpoint, separate endpoint, and I will be giving that endpoint access only to specific client based on headers, and then only specific URL can be given to any person. So these each and every element that you are writing at the server side will work as a one endpoint, asynchronous endpoint. In fact, I could call it as asynchronous endpoint. That means it can handle concurrently many incoming calls. So each method will work as a thread and then can handle many clients at a same time. Whereas in simple object access protocol, if let's say 1 lakh users are coming, and then at the server side, I am creating 1 lakh objects. Irrespective whatever methods they are calling, I have to create 1 lakh objects, which is a pretty heavy level of expense for the server. The same thing if it comes to REST API, if all these 1 lakh people are calling different methods of one class, then I can create multiple objects or instance of only those methods. So they are loaded and then asynchronously called by multiple people, and then that's all. Well, REST is the most easiest way. And then REST, the way they use request and response to be supplied using JSON, JavaScript object notation. So it looks like Java object. So anybody who have basic understanding on HTML and JavaScript, not Java, sorry, JavaScript, can easily understand. And the way XML looks is like basically property name. Property name is equals to, and value is equals to kind of stuff, and or it will say top name value slash property name. This is how XML is represented. These are the two ways represented. Okay, and here if you supply JSON, so JSON on the other hand will contain top name value, and that's all. So which one looks similar? I mean, both of them look similar, but which one is simpler means the second one. If you see the JSON part, it looks pretty simple, straightforward. So this JSON, which basically takes each and everything as a string, or if you wanted to give, no problem. So take the input. JSON is coming as a string input. The entire JSON object is taken as a string input, and then we can divide it into respective objects, and then we can read them very easily. So we call it as object mapping. So to do the object mapping, we use a class called object mapper, basically, who converts a JSON input string into a POJO, and we can deal with the POJO very easily using setters and getters. Okay, so that is what the next level JSON, which uses representative state transformation protocol, and then using that one, using the JSON and JSON request and response formats, these REST services will work. The advantages of REST is you need not load the entire object into memory. You can load only that endpoint related specific instructions, run them, and that too concurrently. Run them concurrently. So the main advantage is you will get, you know, see, anything can be handled with very little space at the server side, honestly speaking. Whereas on the SOAP, you need to have large number of memory, large number of space, because the entire object is loaded into the memory. Understood, right? This is all the theory behind web services. So what is that we are going to learn is a Spring with the REST web service. That's what you are going to learn.
So, sir, security-wise, REST is best, na? Because it's synchronized.
That is what I'm saying, na. Security wise नहीं, security को छोड़ो, soap also can be secured. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, security wise ऐसा नहीं है. It is like what I mean to say, the way you handle is very easy, lightweight. ये जल्दी लोड हो जाएगा. Performance is really high compared to XML web services. That is first thing. Okay, दोनों strings है, but this can be encrypted. This may not be encrypted. May not be, but this can be encrypted. Most of the times XMLs also are encrypted and then coming in base64 format. They will be using AES encryption technique, give you an encrypted base64. Once you decrypt it, you will get XML request. इसमें कुछ problem नहीं है. So everybody has their secure protocol. The way I'm saying is performance. Look at the performance here. The entire object
Yes.
of let's say 100 methods are there. तो पूरा का पूरा object load हो जाएगा memory में. Either 100 methods and some people are calling only one method. Only one method is loading into the memory. Like 100 methods का पूरा 1 lakh objects. यानी कि you are loading 1 lakh into 100 methods into memory. Here I am loading only 1 lakh methods. Which one is better? 1 lakh methods or 1 crore methods?
1 lakh sir, rest is best.
तो ऐसा इसीलिए दैट इज फर्स्ट पॉइंट. सेकंड, ये बहुत टीडियस रहता है, इसको पकड़ने में मतलब रीड करने में इतना अच्छा नहीं रहता जितना इजी आपको लगता है कि ये जावास्क्रिप्ट बेस्ड है. ओके, तो यू डील विद दिस वन द वे यू डील विद नॉर्मल जावास्क्रिप्ट. so easy you actually can and do lot many things with JSON. So that's how it is represented. वो एक स्ट्रिंग है, अब पहले स्ट्रिंग को पकड़ो and you have hell lot of string operations in Java based on which you can actually cut the string, you can take anything and everything, right? So that's a better way to deal with. तो ऐसा है उसका स्ट्रक्चर भी, it looks like same Java structure. Object के अंदर object के अंदर object. Okay, so that's what you people are going to learn. What is that you are going to learn is creating a Spring application for REST web services. Okay, now old or traditional Spring applications that you deal with, they basically uses Java beans and यहाँ पे देखो what we have learned here previously. This one we are not going to discuss this structure. You won't see such a kind of project anywhere. Rather you will get only application context related things. Okay, so these are Java based things, they will be loading, and then when application context loads, it loads entire set of Java objects as a part of your application, and you can simply call application context dot get bean, supply the name of the class, you will get your bean. It is so easy. And we are going to learn Maven based project structure. So here, instead of copying a jar from an external class path to our existing class path, we will specify what is that we are looking at in a prompt XML, and our our Jokata central Maven repository will allow us to download certain things and then have it as a part of our application. Okay na?
Yes sir.
तो ठीक है, तो हाउ डू वी डेवलप सच एप्लीकेशन. तो एलएस में क्लोज करता हूँ एंड ये भी क्लोज कर देता हूँ. क्लोज कर दिया. एम क्रिएट प्रोजेक्ट. अरे यार, इसी में क्रिएट करना था ना. व्हाई डिड आई क्लोज दैट वर्क स्पेस? सॉरी. Now I have this. I'll close all of them. Close all. I closed. I'll create a new. There is something called a Spring Starter project. What is this starter project and why do we go for it? This is what we call a Spring Boot web application. So what is a Spring Boot web application? If you develop a normal Spring application, you can develop it as a normal web dynamic web project, and within which you have to add all the dependencies manually. I mean, in a POM, you need to type all the dependencies manually. And then all the dependencies that you are adding manually, you may skip one or you may miss one. There is a big chance. And then by the time of loading the application, by the time of controlling the application, you will be noticing that so and so dependency is not been there. So there is a big chance that you will end up writing your code again and again. So when it comes to Spring Starter project, it has got a template model which helps you to download a project from start.spring.io. So this is the place where a project is actually created and then downloaded. All the respective required dependencies or jar files also will be downloaded. Before creating this project, let me connect it to Jokata environment, because if you are having your laptops of your personal, you will download anything and everything directly. But if you were given with a Jokata laptop, you cannot connect or downloading anything through a public thing. Everything has to be private. So I have my this one.
So, sir, in Jakarta laptop, if you want to download dependencies, it's not
You
enabled.
should connect to VPN.
Okay.
नहीं तो अभी देखो मैं क्या करता हूँ, प्रोजेक्ट क्रिएट करता हूँ तो डिपेंडेंसी डाउनलोड ही नहीं होगा until and unless I connect to this one. पता नहीं ये कनेक्ट ही नहीं हो रहा है। ये हमारा नया जो नेटवर्क है, आई एम अनेबल टू कनेक्ट टू दैट नेटवर्क. If you give me some 1 second time, I need to disconnect and connect back so that I can change my
Yes, sir.
network. I'm changing my network. Yeah. Able to see my screen still?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I've switched my network, so it has come. I think Act Hibernate is not working for this 182, 183, 200 blah जो भी हमारा server है. So all right, I have connected to VPN. Now I am secured. So I, because of this VPN, I can download anything from VPN. Now I am coming here. So here, what is the name of the project? Let us say I'm giving my project name shopping cart. And what is the Java version I'm looking at? 8. Is it a Maven project or Gradle project? These are the two different ways of importing dependency. I'm interested in Maven. And
Maven.
is this Maven? And then ये जो packaging है, is this going to be a jar or where? Anything chalega. If this is a jar, you can run directly with public static partner. If it is a var, it will be also, you will be representing one particular class and then it will run. And the language I'm using is Java. And then what is the group? Group represents a company name, com.jokata, like this. And then artifact is com.jokata.shopping cart. So here, this is going to be package will be a combination of artifact and group. So here I'll say, understood? Com.example.shopping cart. The version what I'm using is 0.0.1 snapshot. So take a screenshot of these settings if you want to you.
It will be com.example or com.jokata, sir?
Com.company name. If it is a free application you are developing from, let us say,
No,
it's
I'm
a
asking about the sir package name. You said na it will
C
be
C C
combination of.
COM com.jokata. A group is nothing but what is the company that you belong to which company this project belongs to. If you are developing a free software, it starts with org dot your company name. If you are developing a commercial application, that means application that you wanted to sell, it starts with com.jokata. If it is for education, it starts edu dot something, right? So it's something
Yes.
like that. So the combination of artifact and group is what I call as a package. Look at the package com dot, this example के place में करना क्या है हमें,
Jakarta.
Jakarta. It will be like this. And
Yes.
then when I click on next ना, it will tell me, राम, ये जो project में तुम्हें क्या क्या dependencies चाहिए बताओ मुझे. So I need to choose my dependencies. Well, I am looking at web. So here you have all of that. You say Spring Web. I'm looking at. और मुझे Spring Web Services चाहिए, मुझे Jersey चाहिए. These three I'm looking at. So okay. How about the remaining? The answer is no. I don't need anything over here. Whatever you have here. Now for this also I'll say Hibernate. You have Spring Data API. I'll add it. So here it is, and then you have for REST API, you have all of them. If you wanted to have, you can add them. For now, I need Spring Boot developer tools. I'm looking at adding Spring Boot developer tools. Okay, and then you have uh, yeah. I should not forget something JDBC. So I need to have MySQL driver. Yes or no? Without this driver, can we get connections and other stuff?
No.
Oh no, we cannot. So we require this guy. So we require Jersey files. Jersey is for REST services. You can see JAXRS, Java Extension Framework of REST Services API. Okay, so you can develop REST services, RESTful web services using this Jersey API. So I am taking Jersey. I am looking at Spring Web application with the help of Jersey. I'll develop REST API and Spring Web Services, which is official. MySQL driver I'm looking at. Spring Data you are looking at, and Spring Boot developer tools is what you are looking at. We can finish. Now you could actually see here on the downstairs, this guy is trying to download something. Let's see क्या क्या download कर रहा है. He's trying to download Spring Boot Starter Parent .pam. एक palm file download कर रहा है. क्या है ये देखते हैं. You can see now it is downloading Jetty Bomb. So it is trying to download different things. You can see again some other things. So all of us, all of whatever is required when you have selected web and all, these are added over here. You can see dependency group ID artifact ID is what is been added over here. Accordingly, it will download everything and anything that you require as a part of this project. It takes a lot of time. पहली बार because within this workspace settings it will try to download all of that is required. आप लोगों को थोड़ा सब्र करना पड़ेगा. पहली बार ऐसा करेगा. Second time onwards, it will be adding all of them to your local .m2, and then from there you will easily get them. For the first time, it will take time. Through VPN, it is downloading, right? So it takes a lot of time. From second time onwards, when you create a project, it quickly creates a project because they are there in your local .m2 folder. So anything that you are downloading will come to here first, to your C drive, your name, users, Ramadar Vimla, and .m2. इसमें आएगा, इसमें रिपोजिटरी में इसमें आके बैठ जाएगा. ये थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा लोड होने में. By the time I'll have some water and come back. Give me 2 minutes. It is taking a lot of time here. As you can see, by the way, you can see that Tomcat is also getting downloaded as a part of the dependency. See that one? So all the Spring Boot applications, they come with a built-in Tomcat. You need not configure an external server again.
Yes, sir.
अरे यार ये तो बहुत टाइम ले रहा है यार चलो ठीक है for the first time it is taking but based on this only we will be practicing for the next 2 weeks also, right? So
Yes.
I'm okay with it. At least I'm not going to create multiple applications again and again. So the same application we are going to practice further. तो रहने दो थोड़ा सा भगवान. It has just completed Spring JP and Hibernate previously, and then I don't know what is that it is downloading. Dev tools, it is here. यहाँ पे इसके बाद next you will see MySQL connected. यहाँ पे Dev tools हो रहा है, and then you will see MySQL connector JDBC.
Sir, can we learn all the modules of the Spring?
No, I am going to teach you the, I mean, the core part I have explained you, right? We will be seeing Spring MVC, Spring ORM, and the next one, REST services. How do we create Spring REST web services? All that stuff. The thing that I'm not going to touch and then show you is Spring Data. Spring Data uses JDBC template, which is a very legacy style. We are not using that one. And then I'm not going to touch you the remaining as per framework.
AOP, JDBC, transaction management.
JDBC नहीं transaction management करेंगे. Hibernate is it is like it uses Java transactions, so we'll be using Spring transaction management also. Spring JPA use नहीं करते हम. Try to
Yes.
understand. We use Hibernate here. I'm
Hibernate
not
in
going to
place.
teach you anything about entity manager stuff much, but we'll be using Hibernate here.
वो तो सर कोई एक ही कर सकता है, या JPA या Hibernate, दोनों में से कोई.
Hibernate. तो यहाँ पे intention is to teach you the practices of Jokata.
Oh yes, sir.
Whatever is required in Jokata, that I am going to teach you. पूरा तो स्प्रिंग में नहीं पढ़ा सकता ना, एक ही लाइक है ही मेरे पास 2 हफ्ते, तो मैं मर जाऊंगा, तुम भी मर जाओगे.
No sir, no sir. I just asked sir. Okay. Spring security and mail sir, वो भी यूज नहीं होता ना?
होता स्प्रिंग सिक्योरिटी हम पढ़ाएंगे ना लास्ट में. माइक्रो सर्विसेज के पहले स्प्रिंग सिक्योरिटी देखेंगे, एचडब्ल्यूटी टोकन जनरेशन वगैरह देखेंगे.
तो सारा हो ही गया सर, कुछ बचा ही नहीं.
है ना, बहुत सारे. देखो अभी बैच मैं नहीं सिखा रहा हूँ, स्प्रिंग बैच नहीं सिखा रहा हूँ तुम लोगों को, बड़ा है वो टॉपिक. ओके, मतलब बैच ट्रांजैक्शंस कैसे करेंगे, बल्क इंसर्ट अपडेट्स वगैरह. तो ऐसे बहुत सारे टॉपिक्स है जो which I am not going to touch much on. See, it is something like we will be getting 1 day per topic approximately. 10 दिन में हम लोग 10 टॉपिक कवर करना है. हाइबरनेट कवर करना है, स्प्रिंग एमवीसी कवर करना है, स्प्रिंग ओआरएम जो भी इंटीग्रेशन है वो कवर करने का, रेस्ट वेब सर्विसेज कवर करना है, स्प्रिंग सिक्योरिटी कवर करना है. We need to cover the JSON part. We also have to let you understand JUnit and Log4j. So many things are there, right? We have to mingle up everything. Like our padaya kitna hai? Like it's not 10 days also, please understand. It is bloody 2.5 hours into 10 days.
Yes, sir.
It's not 8 hours into 10 days. You people have to understand the biggest limitation I have. I have 2.5 hours into 10 days.
10 days.
That means
Yes.
I have to cover the entire stuff in 25 hours. मतलब अगर
Yes, sir.
नॉर्मली अगर आप 8 hours के बेसिस पे डिवाइड करेंगे, आई एम टीचिंग एवरीथिंग इन 3 days. Is it?
Yes, sir.
You have to understand. Practically कोई पूरा स्प्रिंग हाइबरनेट रेस्ट सर्विसेज सब कुछ मिला के 3 दिन में सिखा सकता है क्या?
No, sir.
सिखाना
No, sir.
पड़ेगा. नहीं, हम लोगों को सिखाना पड़ेगा. That is our limitation. So
Yes, sir.
I cannot cover you depth. I can give you brief, and you have to learn things on your own up to certain level. अगर आप बाहर से भी कोई भी कोर्स देख सकते हो YouTube का to make you master. But
Yes,
most of my session will be on hands-on basis, Shankar. मतलब जो चाहिए काम करने के लिए, that is what I am going to teach you. कॉर्पोरेट में ये एक लिमिटेशन है कि टाइम कंजम्पशन, जैसे कि इंस्टीट्यूट्स में बेसिकली दिस कोर्स इज ऑफ 3 months एवरी डे 1.5 hour इनटू, हमारे पास
वो
उतना
सर
नहीं है,
नॉट
3
3 months,
weeks.
more than 1 year लग जाते हैं सर
अरे वो
इंस्टीट्यूट्स
नहीं,
में.
खाली स्प्रिंग हाइबरनेट, खाली स्प्रिंग
हाँ.
हाइबरनेट इट इज ऑफ 3 months. अगर यहाँ पे देखोगे इट इज 3 weeks, दैट इज द लिमिटेशन. तो ऐसा है, बट आई ट्राई माय बेस्ट, जितना हो सके उतना ट्राई करूंगा. ये तो मैं बुढ़ा हो जाऊंगा इसको देखते देखते. वो ऑलरेडी आधा बुढ़ा, फिर भी मैं बुढ़ा हो जाऊंगा.
And sir, one more thing, what is the minimum system configuration for this Spring Boot?
uh, 8 GB RAM is good, and then you need to have i3. I had my i3, I mean 6th generation processor. Okay, third generation. Sorry, i3 is this, third generation processor, which was purchased in 2015 mission, HP Evo. Then that was having 4 GB originally when I purchased, and then I have upgraded it to 8 GB. Okay, so वो my car, like I was able to run all that show. मतलब क्लासेस लेने के लिए जो भी चाहिए वो सारा कुछ चला सकता था मैं. फिर the company laptop which I have is this one is Core i5. Okay, and it is having 8 GB RAM, so it is sufficient enough. If you are planning to purchase a personal system, I suggest go for i3. Latest generation is, I think, 10th or 11th generation processor is running. Am I clear? i3 या i5 जो भी हो, and take 8 GB RAM. And I also suggest go for SSD hard disk. Don't go for a normal previous model of hard disk, which is you know.
HDD.
हाँ, तो ये SSD में क्या होता है, एक प्रॉब्लम, एक बार डिलीट करो तो डिलीट हो गया, यू कैनॉट टेक रिकवर सॉफ्टवेयर आल्सो SSD में. So it's a solid silicon drive hardware wherein when you try to access, for example, to boot an operating system, if in a normal hard disk which is having a normal RPM, okay, disk kind of thing, where it takes 1 minute of time as well. Here it takes 15 to 20 seconds. This is 3 times faster than that hard disk is what I'm saying. 3 times faster,
Yes, sir.
3 to 4 times. So, लेकिन इसका disadvantage क्या है? You cannot recover the software. तो गया, that's all. You should be very careful. Deleted मतलब deleted. You will never get it back. तो ये थोड़ा like this is what the only limitation in SSD, but this is the best thing. So here in the current system I have is this configuration. The one what was given by Jokata is Intel Core i5 1.6 giga and 1.2. I mean like ये वाला है. Here it is of 8 GB RAM, in which only 7.6 is useful. The remaining is taken for the what do you call this graphics card. तुम लोग भी यही ले लो. i5 is really reliable. i3 भी अच्छा है, उसमें थ्रेड्स कम रहता बोल के सुना, बट इतना the way you practice, right, trust me, इतना फर्क नहीं आएगा.
वेट कर रहा सर, इस वेट में कंपनी लैपटॉप के लिए वेट कर रहा, वरना फिर मैं भी रैम अपग्रेड कर लेगा.
नहीं मिल जाता ना, वेट करो.
हाँ यस सर, इसे प्रैक्टिस से प्रॉब्लम 4 GB रैम ही है मेरा, तो उससे
You are expected to get it in this.
ओ वाओ सर तनवीरुद्दीन मोहम्मद somebody
हाँ
जो काट, ओ जस्ट उनका वो मैसेज आया सर. Ask sir about what is the status of issuing laptop. Just we discuss and I got message.
ठीक है. The same thing. This week it is expected to send the laptops to you. Last week there was a crunch of laptops. ये week भी रहेगा, ऐसा नहीं है कि crunch नहीं है बोल के, but at least our request is almost 10 days before. So this middle of the week, it's something like 15 days has been completed, right? I can force IT people to issue you 3-4 people's laptop at least.
Thank you very much sir.
बाकी का इंटर्न्स का अपना पर्सनल सिस्टम यूज हो जाएगा, राइट?
2000 रुपीज बचा दिया.
नहीं आएगा, कल आएगा. This is way out of time. Bhagavan. Okay, chalo. Finally, the project is ready. Okay, so here, if you have seen the project in the library, you have Maven dependencies. Okay, so the one pom.xml is created for you people. Okay, this is your group ID, and this is your artifact ID. Okay, and then demo project, you can give any description here. Instead of demo project, you can say this is shopping cart application using Springboard, something like that. You can give anything, and then the dependencies section actually helps you all the libraries that you wanted to import. So here you can give dependency group ID, artifact ID. This jar file what you are looking at is will be downloaded from Maven Central repository. So here this maven repository.com will contain that. For instance, if I am looking at Spring Boot, you can see Spring Boot starter. So the Spring Boot starter, okay, which is coming from Spring Boot auto configuration, Spring Boot starter web, will contain this version. So if you go to this version, this is the one, Spring Boot and Spring Boot starter web. So the Spring Boot starter web will go ahead and then download whatever the required dependencies which it have. So the moment when you say this dependency group ID, artifact ID, it will download all of these dependencies which I was showing you previously. राम इतने सारे डिपेंडेंसी चाहिए क्या? The answer is yes.
Yes.
Think of you if you have to think of you. I repeat, think of you if you have to add all of these jar files manually. You are supposed to write these many dependencies like here. So you will end up writing the form file. POM stands for whatever the required modules. Okay, modules. The modules required for this project will be written in the pom.xml. So this pom.xml will contain entries of all your dependencies and then configurations. And you can also see what is the build that you are looking at. But I am not looking at Spring Boot Maven. I mean, like the build model, what I'm looking at is something different. What is the plugin I require is, okay. So the build configuration for Maven, you can say, the section of building actually takes another version, not which is supplied by the Spring Boot. So I'm searching for it. Yeah, नहीं मिल रहा. Previous project से ले लेंगे. this one.
सर ये तो एम्बिएंट रिपोजिटरी पे मिल जाता।
नहीं मिल रहा था इसमें, मतलब सैंपल में देखने के लिए चेक कर रहा था। That's one change we need to do, and then we need to add one more dependency, which is for org.json. So this org.json is this one. One dependency I need. So this one helps me in bringing object mapper into picture. I have added this dependency. Remember these two changes. After that, you have built your Spring Boot application, right? One is you need to change the compiler plugin into this version, 1.8 version, and then you have to bring this dependency into this one. These two changes that you are supposed to do. Now, once you have do this change, your project is ready basically. All these dependencies that you are trying to add have been added, and then your project is ready. Let's look at this one here. So what exactly this Spring Boot application is all about? So this Spring Boot application is a combination of many tags. In fact, in the previous, let's say if you wanted to run a Spring Boot web application, you have to configure uh, what all are required. Okay, so if you see this one, go to this is a combination of all of this. So it has to say, देखो भाई, you go here and then scan all these folders. You need to enable auto configuration, you need Spring Boot configuration, you need documentation, you need target, all these things. Now what are all these, like, why you are using all these annotations now? To understand this, what we need is we need to create a plain old Spring web application. We need to configure it properly. Once we configure it properly, we run it, and then whatever we have configured over there, all of that you are seeing, all of that are being configured, you could actually see are replaced with one single tag, Spring Boot application. Now you wanted to understand this, the current version of Spring, you need to understand a whole lot more in the behind scenes. One thing we are not going to practice is the XML based, but we will practice Java based Spring legacy MVC application, and we actually will see how the entire stuff is replaced by this fellow. So lot of manual work is being reduced when it comes to Spring Boot web application. But if I simply say, देखो भाई, you need to annotate it using Spring Boot application, you don't understand what is the purpose of this. This Spring Boot is a combination of most of these tags. So what are all these tags actually? How these are configured? What is the purpose of this? You will be understanding when we practice a legacy Spring web application. Okay. So to create a legacy Spring web application, we'll do that as a part of tomorrow's session. Today is a heads up of what you are going to learn, and then I also have shown you this Spring Boot web app creation. So I'll just rename this for, let it be Spring Spray Shopping Cart only. In tomorrow's session, we'll create a legacy Spring application, and then we will see how do we create application context, how do we bring dependency injection, all that stuff into that. Okay. Okay, but tomorrow's session has no value to you, honestly speaking, but you will understand what is the old style of Spring, and then how we are replacing it with Spring Boot. But that is important. If you see a bit older, let's say 5 6 years old, at 8 years old of applications, you will understand, acha, okay, theek hai, this is how it has been developed, and then the current version is this one. Okay, तो हम लोग वो create करेंगे. There are multiple steps in that one. You will see that, and we will develop it. Okay, clear? Right? And
Yes, sir.
चलो ठीक है, आज के लिए मैं
Yes,
stop
sir.
करता हूँ. It's 12:30. You take a break and go through this one. Practice the web app that I have given. Make sure that you complete it. Take help from your friends also, but please complete it. Am I clear? And then post lunch you have 4 to 6 session 5 by Shweta as usual. I'll catch you tomorrow. We will see the older style of Spring application. That is more or less a web app only. It is more or less a web application only. And that web application, we will add on certain configuration classes to it to give support to Spring, and we can see how they work. Okay, that's what the practice is going to be tomorrow. Chalo, ठीक है. We'll stop here and we'll catch up tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you, sir.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.